They say some stars don't burn out. They just disappear into the dark. But when the spaceman vanished, the world noticed. Ace Frehley, the man who once made guitars sound like thunder from another planet, is gone. But the way it all happened, the silence that followed, and the faces that suddenly showed sympathy, it all feels strange. Almost like there's more behind the curtain than anyone wants to admit. Who was really standing behind Ace? Who was jealous of his shine? And why does it feel like some people were relieved when the lights finally went out? The official story says it was an accident, a fall at his home studio. Simple. Clean. But with Ace Frehley, nothing ever was simple. He lived loud, he fought louder, and when he left this world on October 17th, 2025 at the age of 74, it was as if the music paused mid-riff. There's no information about a funeral, no public goodbye, no final stage. Just silence, the kind that makes fans restless. His family confirmed the news in a heartbreaking statement. We were able to surround him with loving, caring, peaceful words, thoughts, prayers, and intentions as he left this earth. Those were their exact words, filled with grief and calm, but to fans it felt like an echo too quiet for someone who once shook the world. The cause was tragic. A simple fall, that's what they say, and while working in his studio, the place where he'd created magic for decades. The fall led to severe head injuries and complications that doctors couldn't reverse. For weeks he fought in silence, surrounded by family as the rock world waited and prayed. When the news finally broke, tributes started flooding in. Gene Simmons, once his fiercest critic and longest-time bandmate, called him a genius with a cosmic touch. Paul Stanley wrote, "Ace brought fire, humor, and heart to Kiss. No one could replace him." Peter Criss said, "I'm broken. My brother is gone." But the words from his family, those hit hardest. They said they were devastated and that Ace died peacefully, knowing how deeply he was loved. Peacefully, a word that almost feels too soft for a man whose entire life was noise, rebellion, and lightning. Still, no funeral details have been made public. No date, no service, no images. Just a void. Fans around the world are asking the same question. Why so quiet? A legend like Ace? No public farewell? No gathering? It's unusual. Almost unreal. Maybe the family wants privacy. Maybe Ace wanted it that way. But for millions of fans, the silence feels heavy, like a note left unresolved. As tributes keep pouring in, fans are replaying his iconic moments. That unforgettable solo from Shock Me, the way he'd tilt his guitar toward the heavens and make it scream, the silver makeup glinting under the stage lights. That's the image people want to hold on to then. The spaceman, lost in the stars, one with his music. But fame never comes without shadows. Those who followed Ace's journey know he battled more than just fame. Addiction, depression, ego clashes, betrayal, all part of his long road through rock and roll's chaos. For decades, he was the misunderstood genius of Kiss, the one who always seemed slightly out of orbit. And maybe that's why his story feels unfinished. The man who created the cosmic persona of the spaceman was never truly grounded. Even after leaving Kiss, even after launching his solo career, Ace was always floating between worlds. Fame and freedom, chaos and calm. The fall that took his life feels symbolic. A man who spent his whole career defying gravity, finally brought down by one small, cruel accident. But that's how fate works, doesn't it? The higher you fly, the harder the fall. Back in his prime, in the mid-70s, Ace wasn't just part of Kiss. He was the soul of their sound. His guitar solos defined the band. His mysterious aura made fans dream. While Gene and Paul handled the business, Ace gave Kiss its wild spirit. The reason teenagers wanted to pick up guitars in the first place. But success brought jealousy. The spotlight doesn't shine evenly in rock bands, and Ace's natural cool started to bother those who wanted total control. The tension grew, and by the early 80s he walked away. It wasn't just a band split, and it was an escape. In one interview, he said something chilling. "If I had stayed in Kiss, I would have killed myself." Those words hit differently now, because maybe leaving Kiss saved him once, but time, fate, and old wounds eventually caught up. Even in his later years, Ace stayed active. He toured, he recorded, he joked with fans online, he talked about new projects, even teased collaborations. No one saw this ending coming. Not like this, not quietly, not without a final bow. And that's what makes it eerie. The spaceman who once lived for the stage, gone with no crowd to cheer him off. No final encore. Just whispers, tributes, and unanswered questions. Still, fans have turned social media into a digital vigil. Thousands of posts, old photos, and guitar clips are flooding timelines with the hashtag #EachSharpFarewellSpaceman. People lighting candles, playing his songs, painting his face on murals. They're making sure the silence doesn't win. In New York, near his old Bronx neighborhood, fans gathered outside a small music store he once visited. They played New York Groove on repeat, the song that made him a solo star. Some cried, some smiled. One fan said, "He was our alien. He made being weird feel cool." Maybe that's the real legacy of Ace Frehley. Now, not just the riffs, not just the makeup, but the message that being different was something powerful. His family, still grieving, has asked for privacy. They say Ace's spirit lives on in his music. And maybe that's where his real funeral is happening. Not in a hall, not in a church, but every time someone presses play. Every time a kid picks up a guitar and tries to hit those same impossible notes. The rock world has lost many legends, but this one feels heavier. Because Ace wasn't just a guitarist. He was a symbol. The dreamer who turned his imagination into sound. And yet, the mystery remains. Why no funeral? Why the silence? Maybe, just maybe, the spaceman didn't want a goodbye. Maybe he wanted to vanish quietly, like a star that just fades into the galaxy, leaving only its light behind. Because that's the thing about legends. You don't bury them. You don't close their chapters. You just keep hearing them, again and again, echoing through time. And as the world waits for any word about his funeral, one truth stands firm. Ace Frehley's journey doesn't end in a hospital bed. It doesn't end with silence. It ends in sound, in every riff, every chord, every explosion of energy he ever gave us. Maybe he didn't fall. Maybe he finally took off. One last time. Somewhere out there among the constellations, the spaceman is still playing. Still glowing, still alive. In the only place he ever truly belonged.